Thanks for tuning into our seller interview series. Up today, we've got an Amazon FBA, e-commerce, and B2B business for sale in the apparel and accessories niche. Created in November 2016, the business makes $2,163 on average per month in net profit. The listing number for this site is 46975. Now, we do these interviews to give potential buyers more information about both the seller and the sites they're looking to purchase. We hope these insights are helpful for you in making a buying decision. We've got the seller today on the call with us to go over everything from the business niche selection, traffic, and monetization. So thanks for coming on today, Belinda.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's nice to have you on the call. I'm really excited to talk to you about this business you've created. Now, I'm going to go into a quick summary. The business was built in November 2016, has an average monthly total revenue of $6,154 and an average net profit per month of $2,163. Included in the sale is the Amazon Seller Central account and a total of 22 SKUs, domain and all site content and files, the trademark, social media accounts, email list, standard operating procedures, supplier contracts and relationships, and it is worth noting that inventory is not normally included in the list price and further details can be provided to active depositors. So, Belinda, can you tell me a little bit about your background in building and running online businesses?
I have been operating online businesses and with the associated B2B since 2006, especially in the USA. And in 2014, I licensed out my previous brand and I was looking for something else to get started in. Now, the printing process of the brand that we're selling at the moment and my previous brand is exactly the same. So I basically had everything in place to continue to create something else. And so my background is quite strong. However, in my previous brand, I did have staff in the USA before I licensed it out and eventually sold it. This time, I've actually been doing everything by myself, not by myself, but from Australia or doing everything remotely. And this is actually one of the reasons why we're actually selling.
Okay. So you obviously had a business in the past that was in the same particular monetization, but how does this business actually currently make money primarily?
Okay, so my primary source of revenue, I would say, would be the B2C. It's almost like probably B2C and B2B is going to be more so than Amazon. And that's when I say my primary source of income, probably my primary source of profit. One of the reasons why I love the B2B model is that you can sell, yes, you are selling at a wholesale price, but you're selling a lot more product. So it's kind of like a numbers game. Mm-hmm. And with a previous brand that I've had, our B2B was our greatest form of revenue. And I understand how when you nurture relationships with sales reps and whatnot, that you really can get some good numbers coming through the door. And, the landscape is changing so quickly that a lot of people are actually buying online, but there's a lot more sort of online retailers and e-commerce stores who will gladly sort of buy your product and sell it online for you. And that can actually give you, in my opinion, a lot more sort of brand awareness. I think the whole thing is about brand awareness, and your website and other partners B2B customers who are selling your product, they're the people who are giving you that brand awareness,
No, yeah, definitely. And then, building up that brand ultimately is going to build trust with your customers, and then they'll continue to keep shopping your store and your items and coming back. Now, Belinda, was, there any particular reason why you decided to sell the business at this time? Or is there something else as far as why you'd like to continue on with something, in another market?
Well, I have two reasons why I'd like to sell the business. Well, first of all, the main decision was made a couple of weeks ago. My husband has been quite ill with kidney transplant and it didn't take, and he ended up in critical care a couple of weeks ago. So it's just at this point in time, I'm wishing to take everything which is taking up my time, resources, all my resources, both time and financial, out of the equation, because I just can't afford to not give 100% of my time to my family at the moment. The other issue is that I'm operating a brand which is primarily sold in the USA from Australia. And this has its own issues. I mean, I've been selling in America since 2006, so I understand the American market. I enjoy selling in America. So there's a reason why I actually went there first. But it is because it's an outdoor apparel, I have issues with just simple things like, I go to do a social media shoot. I do all my own, sort of social media photography and that sort of thing. And it's fall in the USA and it's bright, hot summer here in Australia. So that has its own sort of complications, is trying to work with the opposite seasons with the USA. And, this really does need somebody who is based in the USA, and, if it's a beautiful snowy day or a rainy day in New York or whatever, to get out there and, and take some cool social media shots instead of me trying to recreate them on a sunny, hot day in Queensland.
Okay. So is there anything that you learned building this business that you plan on applying to your future business ventures?
Probably the number one thing that I have learned is I do need to have some form of staff or some sort of office in America, as opposed to trying to operate it autonomously from Australia. And I do use my VA in the Philippines a little bit, but the time difference is something which is it's not impossible, but it has its difficulties. Mm-hmm. Especially when you're trying to deal with the East Coast. And so if you're trying to have a call at 3 p.m. on the East Coast, that's 5 a.m. for me here in Australia. And although I am an early riser, sometimes a continual getting out of bed at 5 a.m. kind of makes it a little bit difficult.
Right. Ultimately having like a team of VAs or even just having an assistant, might be something that you plan on, utilizing in the future.
Yeah.
Okay.
But my new venture, there's not so much sort of customer relations that need to take place. There's not a lot of customer contact. So it's going to be a lot easier to sort of operate this from afar.
Okay. No, that makes sense. Now, was there anything that you learned while building this business, Belinda, that, maybe didn't give you the ROI you were expecting it to?
It would be trying to work in the opposite seasons and just working at it from afar. That is really the one thing that I have learned. I do have a consulting company where I help people manufacture textiles in China. And I work in the eco-friendly space, so we do sustainable production and everything. So, or anything to do with the production is something, that is done for me is so easy, especially as China is on the same time zone. But it's just the operations part, which I have learned it is almost impossible to do this from afar. You really do need to have somebody on the ground in America, in my opinion, or in the same time zone. It can be, it can be outsourced, but, outsourced to somewhere, but within that same time zone, because customers, they do expect an instant response. If something goes wrong, they need to know that you're there to help them. And, when you take, a few hours to get back to them, that can, they understand when you tell them that you're not based in Australia. I wouldn't tell the B2C customers this, but the B2B customers, when you say that you're based in Australia, they go, okay, I get it. Now I understand why you didn't respond to me, 5 minutes after I first contacted you. Mm-hmm. But that's the nature of the beast with working with e-commerce and whatnot now, is everybody does want instant response.
Right. That makes sense. And, like you had mentioned, doing B2B as well as B2C, you have a real varied and mixed, traffic source as far as, where your actual clients and customers are coming from in the process. Now, on that topic, where does the majority of your traffic come from then, Belinda? Do you do mostly of social media advertising, or does a lot of your traffic come from other sources? Or?
Okay, so I get traffic from my Instagram account and my Instagram and Facebook, but I also follow Haro, which is Help a Reporter Out. So I follow that religiously every day, and I respond to any reporter who is looking for any product which is in my niche, and I pitch my brand to them and 99% of the time they run with it. So it's free PR. And so help a reporter out, HARO, if anyone wants to know about that, is an awesome tool for getting free PR. And I get a lot through that. For example, we've been able to get into the LA Times and the Chicago Tribune through that platform.
No, that's really great to hear. And, having that extra resource, in the back of your pocket is always good to kind of spread the marketing brand awareness, as we were talking about as well. Now, are you doing any other forms of marketing or even, any type of paid advertising for this business, Belinda?
Yes, I do paid Facebook ads and I do paid Amazon ads, but I kind of set my Amazon ads up, my pay-per-click, probably around about 2 years ago, and I haven't touched it since. Please don't ask me about black hat and white hats and grey hats because I really don't understand them. I think one's not allowed and one is allowed. And so technically, when it comes to pay-per-clicks and that sort of thing, I really don't have a good understanding of what I'm doing. So I've kind of had the same campaign for Amazon, which has been just set up 2 years ago and has just been, going along, and someone had a look at it and said, well, that's actually quite good. And I thought, well, is it? So yes, I do paid advertising, but if someone was to take this business and they were savvy in terms of paid advertising, they could probably do a far better job than what I had done.
Okay. Well, it's good to hear that, that's another low-hanging fruit for a potential buyer to see that, if they come in with a little bit of knowledge with PPC running ads and, whatnot, that, ultimately they could optimize those and get better conversions.
Yeah.
Now, can you discuss, how you're getting your inventory from your manufacturer to the customers or even to the businesses that you're selling with, Belinda?
Yeah, sure. So I have my product, gets landed, and then I use a 3PL warehouse. I have been using a 3PL warehouse in Delaware, and then I've actually switched to a 3PL warehouse in California. But I'm actually going to move again to somewhere in Oregon. And the reason why I want to be on the West Coast is because with my other venture, I need to do a lot of cross-docking. And the cross-docking is when goods come in straight from China and they don't get bought into the 3PL, they just get sent straight out, because what I'm dealing in with is large numbers that aren't going to a particular thing. And I want to be able to ship both this existing product that we're talking about and my new venture together, just to save, costs, shared LCL and also, shared shipping and the docking and local costs and local transport costs on the other side. So I'm in the process of looking for a new 3PL. So at the moment, we've got it in a 3PL. The orders come in and they just go straight back out. With the B2B orders are uploaded. The B2Bs, they email me or I get emailed from the sales rep. I have one sales rep who looks after an area, actually two sales reps, and one of them I haven't brought on yet because I was going to put the business up for sale. I kind of thought, well, the new buyer can decide whether or not they want to go with this, run with this new sales rep or not.
Okay. And on that topic, I had noticed that as well, looking within your business. Now, you have a few sales reps. Are they currently on any type of pay system or on the payroll, or are they working solely on commission, or how does that work exactly?
Solely on commission.
Okay.
So the commission goes from 12% to 15%. The best performing sales rep is actually 12%. She should actually be on 15%, but she does extremely well. She does very well. Mm-hmm. And yeah.
Okay. So, on the topic of, managing these sales reps and, getting your inventory from the manufacturer to the 3PLs, can you describe, the amount of work you're doing on a weekly basis currently for the business?
Look, for shipping, the trading company, because all factories work with the trading company, factories, and no matter what people think when they say that they're working with their factory, most likely they are working with a trading company, or it's a factory that operates as a trading company, organised for the export of my product. And when it comes in, I actually do my own importing into the USA, but I have in the past used a freight forwarder. And so technically it should only be, if you are using a freight forwarder, it should be no more than 15 minutes to receive the packing list, and all the other documentation and forward it onto the freight forwarder. I mean, it's basically 2 emails. But if I was to do it myself, there would be a little bit more sort of negotiation. I would need to sort of, a few more phone calls to the receiving agent and making sure that, the correct HS codes are applied and whatnot. And so doing it myself, I would say I would spend per shipment probably max an hour work.
Okay. And you're doing that on a weekly basis, or are there any other tasks that you're doing throughout the week?
For shipping, I only ship probably about 4 or 5 times a year.
Okay.
So for the other work, for the B2B, that's receiving new orders. I use Xero. I send all my B2B customers invoice via Xero and they pay online. As soon as they've paid, I upload the order into the B2B back end. The 3PL back end, and the 3PL just sends it out.
Okay. So, a majority of, these the service providers that are doing all of the work for you, that kind of makes your actual work pretty limited as far as what's required to run the business, correct?
Correct. I've basically got everything automated.
Okay.
The only thing that I can't do, and this is my biggest roadblock, is being able to contact all my B2B customers, to be able to, because I've got a lot of them who aren't being serviced by sales rep, probably about 50% of them or even more. And for me to be able to get on the phone to say, hi Shirley, how are you? How are you doing with stock? Would you like to reorder? All that sort of thing. I can't do that from over here. And this is why it's just so important to have a body on the ground who can call up, these retailers and give them the TLC that they need and be able to procure, more frequent follow-up orders.
Okay. And now, are most of these B2B businesses within the US, or, are they kind of spread out among Australia and Taiwan as well?
No, they are 99% of them are in North America. Actually are in America. I've got a couple in Canada and there's a couple in Hawaii, same country, but it is on a different time zone. I have one customer in Australia, and I have a sales rep here in Australia who is biting at the bit to be able to take on this brand, and she wants to be able to take it on as of next year. Right now we're going into summer. She wants to be able to start selling in February next year and throughout. She's based in Victoria. And this was the sort of the model that I wanted to, put forward, that I wanted to implement, was to be able to hold the stock in Shanghai as almost using it like a 3PL or like a warehouse, and being able to ship orders out to retailers from Shanghai. Everybody, or most people, know that shipping and courier rates and, by EMS and what have you, relatively cheap coming from China. And any order which is under $800 in Australia, you don't have to pay any duties on it or anything. Well, actually, we have a free trade agreement with China anyway, so that's really a moot point. But what I'm trying to get at is to have a situation where you're not shipping a whole lot of stock to a warehouse and keeping it, in a warehouse and having to pay a 3PL rather than just send it ad hoc as needed to retailers.
Okay. Now, Belinda, hypothetically, if you were to keep this business, what are some of the ways you would try and grow it?
I would employ a staff member in the US, and I would have that staff member to make a lot of follow-up calls with all the B2B. I would have them do a lot more localized social media. I would definitely follow up with the Australian sales rep, and I would get that going. I would possibly do a trade show. New York Now would be a great trade show to do, to introduce myself to a lot more B2B customers. And even though this is an apparel, it is also fits in the accessories niche, and I would say it can go over a few different niches. The other thing is what I would definitely do, and I would be happy to talk to any future buyer about this, until the cows come home, is how many other products that I would like to bring in that would complement the existing product and could be manufactured using the same manufacturing methods, and I'm talking about printing here, and even some of them being actually produced in the same factory. And so I've got a lot more sort of ideas of complementary products to go with this particular product, and I would be more than happy to share that with any buyer because I really do think that this has potential for growth.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's something that I'm sure any potential buyer listening can definitely, see the value in, that you already have a few ideas and a few products, in the pipeline and, already, ready to go for a potential buyer to kind of just take this and run with it. So that's really great to hear. Now, Belinda, are you willing to commit to a non-compete? So with your business that you're starting down the road, you'll stay out of this specific niche?
Most definitely.
Okay, perfect.
And I don't mean that it's not a good product, but if any buyer knew what the product was, they'd go, oh, yeah, I get it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. No, that's really great to hear. And then how much support are you willing to offer any potential buyers? Are you going with the typical 30 days email and call support, or did you have something in addition you would like to add?
Well, of course I do that. The other thing is because I have a consulting company where I help people manufacture textiles, I would be willing to actually help them. I would hold their hand through the manufacturing process anyway, but if someone wanted me to help them with manufacturing until they've got a hold on everything else and they're ready to take the reins, I would be willing to do that as well. I would be willing to help them develop new product. I would also need to teach people the best processes to create the existing product. And I would also be willing to help out with that as well. I love this brand. I'm almost quite sad to see it go. It's kind of like, for me, it's, a favourite niece who's come to stay for a few years and has to go back now. It has been fun. And, I know that a lot of buyers don't really want the founder to be involved. But if they needed me to do the tender loving care to continue with the manufacturing, which I'm extremely good at, or if they need me to hold their hand through it, I'm more than happy for that because, this brand deserves that.
Mm-hmm. No, that's really great to hear that, you've put a lot of your effort and hard work into this business and, ultimately seeing it, grow into what it is now is, it's always a good thing to see in any business really that we have in our marketplace. So that's great. Now, one last question just to wrap this up, Belinda, putting yourself in the shoes of a buyer, why do you think this business is worth buying?
I think it's worth buying because it's the only product out there in its niche. Mm-hmm. And I have one other competitor who is not really a competitor, and the product is far poorer quality, and it's also targeted to a different audience. And it's fun. And it's also got a great giving back. I have a giving back program with it as well, where a certain percentage goes to water projects in developing countries, and that's creating water bores for building water bores in countries such as Zambia. And this is something that the new buyer could or does not have to follow up with, but it's a great selling story, and my customers love it. And it's a fun product. It's unique. It's a fun product, and there's room for so many other, I can think of there's 3 to 4 products that I would bring in to complement it, and you would have a really cool product.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really great to hear that you already have, like I said, some low-hanging fruit that any potential buyer can just kind of pick up from where you left off and keep pushing it and push it to the full potential. So that's really great to hear. So is there anything else that you would like to share, Belinda, that I might have missed in this call?
Yeah, sure. Look, the other thing is that part of the thing is for my manufacturing business is that I only deal with eco-friendly printing and printing methods and sustainable manufacturing, and this product is printed using eco-friendly printing methods, eco-friendly dyes, and sustainable manufacturing practices. So that to me it's what people want to hear, and this is a product which is built to last. It's something which it's other items like this on the market meant to be thrown away. This is meant to last and last for a long time. So in terms of fast fashion, this is not fast fashion, which is a growing buzzword.
Mm-hmm. No, it's completely understandable. And seeing, the extra steps that you're taking with this business, not only to grow the business, but also to help the environment, it's always really great to see.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate you coming on the call today, Belinda. It was really nice talking to you and look forward to seeing the future and getting this listing sold for you.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Belinda. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Okay.
If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to our channel. And if you want more information, the link will be below the video that will take you to this marketplace listing. If you're watching this on the listing page and want more information, become a depositor today. When you make a deposit, one of our business advisors will be in contact with you and you will be given everything you need to review this business. Thank you and have a great day.